Hi, I am Kidger on two wheels, and on this lovely day, it is raining, I have come to review the Super Soco TC Max. Now, this unfamiliar brand name is actually an Australian brand from bikes made in China, and these are designed to work in Europe. So it's a pan-world thing. And these are electric bikes. The last one I reviewed was actually the scooter version, the scooter from Super Soco, the CPX, which I enjoyed. It is a very interesting and very well-rounded means of transportation. This is a bike. The other one is a way to get from point A to B using the least amount of money. This is actually fun. So what do we have for the relatively hefty price tag? This throws, price tag wise, this throws it straight into Japanese territory. Okay? But it's not quite Japanese quality. It's very good. Quality wise, it is very impressive, especially for what is basically a startup. Even though they have a lot of experience, you can't compare their experience with the experience from Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki and Kawasaki. It's just worlds apart. But yet, it's pretty good, especially considering how new the brand is. But I really quite enjoyed the overall quality. But to justify this huge price tag, the first thing you have, and you know on electrical motorcycles and electrical vehicles, is the low cost of usage. We'll get to that later. Let's see what this one brings for this value. It brings completely normal wheels, front and rear, 17/17. Relatively thin tires though, 90 at the front, 120 at the rear. The tires are surprisingly good, especially because their brand is Cordial, which is infamous for the unbelievably horrible quality of their tires, which were on the Superlight, on the Keyway Superlights. Those were nearly criminally bad, but these are actually not that bad. I did not feel any kind of slippage, even in the rain, which is impressive. Although I did not overdo it because, well, it is an expensive bike and crashing is expensive, so your mileage may vary. I would change it for something a little bit better, but they're not bad, okay? They're actually surprisingly good. I think they're perfectly fine for what this machine can do. You have also, quite surprisingly, inverted suspension. Within this price range, not quite surprising, but within this price range for an electrical motorcycle, that is surprising. Braided brakes, also surprising. You have combined braking system, also surprising because I was expecting ABS. I've told it on the other one, I've told it to the importer directly. Not having ABS is an issue, okay? ABS would be miles better, although it would increase the price by 500 or more euros straight off the bat, but still, I would pay the extra. And then you have a very elegant and simple dash, very classical, a very neo-retro look, kind of like what Honda's trying to do, mixing old and new. I quite enjoy the looks on this bike. I much prefer the futuristic part of it than the retro part of it. The futuristic part of looks on this bike looks awesome, really good. I like this fake air entry, it looks like a jet engine, it just looks great. I don't quite enjoy a lot this rear, which is a bit more retro, but tastes are tastes. Suspension is not adjustable. You have, as is usual in all electrical vehicles, LEDs everywhere. As is usual nowadays, LEDs everywhere. You have a couple of brake fluid reservoirs, transparent, really good looking, with fairly good materials. You have a relatively wide handlebar. It's comfortable. Your mirrors are classical round mirrors, but they are very wide. Careful going in between cars because it's easy to clip a car with these. They're not very wide, okay? They're wide, but they're not extremely wide. But the whole bike is just so thin that you go through small gaps, but your mirrors don't go through small gaps because they stick out. While this bike can fit nearly anywhere. And moving back, you have a very cool starter button that if you press it without unlocking the bike from the remote first, it'll start squealing like this. This is supposedly At least it sounds as if it was an alarm, but well, it just gives you an indication that the bike's not actually on, which is nice because once you turn on the bike, nothing happens. It's an electrical vehicle, so you press the button, the bike turns on, instruments light up, the lights light up, and that's it, it's ready to go. So it's very easy to just take off without noticing. The bike will not roll if you have the side stand on, so be aware of that. Hi son! You have your not standard, you have a bespoke engine made specifically for this bike, an electrical engine, as you know, and the battery is here. It's a relatively big battery, quite heavy. You can remove it to charge it in the office, as I did. Range is around 90 kilometers, but with all electrical vehicles, the range can change quite dramatically, just like any combustion engine. Thing is, unlike a combustion engine, which is most efficient at, say, 80, 90 kilometers per hour, an electrical engine, because the torque is completely flat, you have always the same torque, is much more efficient, but the faster you go, the more energy you waste, the more energy you use, just like a combustion engine. Thing is, a combustion engine is its effectiveness, it's very inefficient at low speeds, and is very efficient at 80 to 90 kilometers per hour, and then it becomes inefficient again. So the economical speed, the ideal one, is that open road speed. That's where you have the lowest fuel consumption. Electrical engines are always with the same efficiency, so in reality, the faster you go, the more fuel you use directly. So it's 90 kilometers in town, but if you do a 30 kilometer commute via highway, bye-bye battery. It'll do 40 kilometers like that, 30 maybe. For my commute, and I tried this from home to work, I did not go through the highway because I'm not insane, but I did go through open road, Marginal here, and I managed to arrive with 50% battery, which meant I had to charge the battery a little bit to get back home because I was not going to go through that risk. However, since charging is just a matter of finding the nearest plug and plugging it in, if I had run out of battery on the way home, I could just push the bike into some coffee shop, some cafe, some bakery, anything, go in, ask for a cup of coffee and say, hey, can I charge my bike here? I'm out of fuel. And just bring the battery, which is heavy, weighs 14 or 16 kilograms or something, and just plunk it on the ground. It's also pretty big. Plunk it on the ground, charge it for a few minutes, and I would arrive home. But range is a limitation on this one. The engine, however, is very much fun. Performance-wise, I really liked this bike. This is the equivalent to a 125 bike. The stated power is around 7 horsepower, 5,000 kilowatts, or 5 kilowatts, sorry. And although that seems low, remember that, say, my RC125 is supposedly 15 horsepower, this is half that. But those 15 horsepower are only on the top end of the rev range. On the rest of the rev range, it has a lot less than this. This is most likely the fastest acceleration 125 I have ever seen. Maybe some speedy scooters like the Honda PCX can challenge it, or maybe even beat it. They have more power, and the more direct transmission from the scooter allows it to give it a slightly faster launch. But this is a really fast accelerating 125. Top speed is kind of limited. Again, 7 horsepower can only do so much versus their resistance. So it gets up to 100 and it stops. But it accelerates really fast. You accelerate and really suddenly you're going already 50-60 kph. Awesome little performance. Sorry, I will not touch it. As you can see, it is vibration sensitive. You have a drive with not a chain but a belt, which is very silent, so the whole bike is very silent. You do hear the engine. It's a slight, very pleasant whine. Okay, yeah, we don't have, cars can't hear you, that's true, but you have to adjust your driving for that. Other than that, it is a pretty fun bike. For a 125, strong acceleration, ridiculously light and nimble. The whole bike, fully laden with fuel, electrons in this case, weighs 100 kilograms. Which makes it completely featherweight. I can probably just lift it straight off the ground like this, if I don't drop it. Yeah, it's super easy. If you remove the battery, I can almost pick it up and just carry it away because without the battery it weighs like 80 kilograms. It's my weight. It's ridiculously light, ridiculously thin, ridiculously nimble, to the point that I almost fell over on the first turn because I wasn't expecting this to just turn so quickly. And it is pretty high quality. I like the quality of this. It's not quite Japanese quality, but it is not Chinese quality by any margin. It is very well built, very good bang for buck, and honestly, if you want to buy an electrical vehicle or an electrical motorcycle, I would suggest this. This so far is by quite some margin the most fun I've had on an electrical bike so far. Light, fast, and usable. The only thing you cannot use it for, not very good on commutes. The seat is comfortable, but after 45 minutes or 40 minutes on it, it begins to hurt. It is a bit stiff. It is very thin to help you reach the ground, but it's not very comfortable. So a 30-kilometer commute is just about the maximum you can do if you go on open road. If you're in town, it's just brilliant. So that's it. The Super Soco TC Max. A surprisingly good electrical vehicle that I really enjoyed. That's it. Cager out.